Hello, BookTube. I have a Monday Reads for you. Just a quick half dozen books I want to show you and talk a bit about. And as usual, the breakdown here is 3 books that I have read in one way or another, and 3 books that I haven't, that are on the Launchpad. I plan on doing all of these in the early part of this week. It might not be tonight. It's possible that I will have a distraction tonight. But we'll start with the 3 that I have read. And the first one is Regency Romance. I have a ton of Regency, old Signet Regency romances. I just love them. They are the perfect palate cleanser for me. And I have hundreds of them, thanks to great used book shopping and also some great shopping by the rest of you. Keep an eye out for these things. And I keep them in a little pocket in my shoulder bag for subway rides, and just burn through them that way. And I just finished one on the ride back today from my errands. This is by Martha Kirkland, and it's called The Ruby Necklace. A lovely old style. If you ever see any of these old style Signet, that's the symbol. Signet Regency romances, kindly scoop them all up for me, and I will reimburse you. But this is the story of a vicar's daughter who she and her maid are forced to leave their vicarage because new owners are coming in. She's going through her family effects and comes across the last thing she expected. She has barely a competence. She is intending to go to London and be employed as a lady's maid, as a lady's companion. And that's all that she really expects out of her financial future, when suddenly in the midst of her family effects, she finds an absolutely opulent ruby necklace, the MacGuffin of the plot. And it causes, of course, once she gets to London, it causes all sorts of dashing young beaux to be interested in her. And she's totally naive to the ways of the world and doesn't know, whether or not that damns all of them, or whether or not there might be a true gentleman in the match, or someone that she could like. And there's also, of course, the usual, the regular, boring beau. There's always a slightly boring, a George Bellamy type figure that is the suitable but dull companion that these young women in these books are trying to escape. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Then this next one is an illustration of what I mean by read in one way or another, because I have read everything this author has written, and I dearly love this author. But I've never read this. This is a Penguin classic of Lafcadio Hearn. This is called Japanese Ghost Stories, and it has just a huge selection of his Japanese ghost stories. He was, for a long time, a journalist, bounced all around the world, and ended up for, I think, 15 years in Japan. And fell in love with the culture, as many Westerners have done, and fell in love with the folklore as well, and the literature, and started churning out books, translating, adapting, communicating that literature and its wonders and its ways to a Western audience, most of whom had not encountered it before. This Penguin edition also has black and white illustrations all throughout. Just fantastic that Penguin would do this. I really hope that they reprint a lot of Lafcadio Hearn. As far as I know, this is the only one they've ever done. You used to be able to get him a whole shelf of his books in the old Tuttle mass-market paperback reprints that were quite lovely and quite durable. I had a whole bunch of them and gave them away over the years, so I don't think right now I have anything but a couple of those old Tuttle paperbacks. But there was a lot of Lafcadio Hearn in there. I'd love all of his Japan books, any collected journalism, his collected book reviews, of course, an old song on this channel. But I'll take this, absolutely. And this has an introduction by Paul Murray, who was the biographer of, among others, Bram Stoker. And his Bram Stoker book is fantastic. So he also was a biographer of Lafcadio Hearn. So the introduction, the notes are just fantastic. What you expect from Penguin, but this is a keeper. This is a keeper. And then the third of the 3 that I have already read is this is a new paperback release. I think it comes out later this month. And this is Christine Lagorio Chafkin, and it's We Are the Nerds, the trade paperback of her book about Reddit, about the start of Reddit, the website Reddit, which, to its credit, there's no way for anybody writing a book like this to know the stink that will attach to anything connected with the story down the line. Authors aren't oracles. So this is mostly a scrappy, come-from-behind startup story, full of perfectly captured personalities. The writing here is just so incredibly readable. And you just have to read it for that. and try not to think about all the stuff that we've learned about the creatures that go to Reddit in order to incubate their hatred against the human race. The plans, the manifestos that have been published on Reddit and 4chan and 8chan. We can't hold any of that against this book, and so I didn't. And I'm looking forward to rereading it because it's one of those nonfiction books that really stuck in my mind as just a terrific reading experience. So I can recommend it already, but I'm looking forward to seeing what things I missed the first time around. And those are the three that I have already read. Now I want to show you three that I haven't read. The first one is from October. It's closing in. Its pub date, if they stay true to it, is closing in on Halloween. This is by London Shaw, and it's called The Light at the Bottom of the World. Look at that cover. If you really take a minute to realize what you're looking at there, look at that cover. That is really good. And this, I believe, is YA. Don't know much about it, but I'm intrigued. Let's find out together. So this is the cover of this thing. This is, yes, this is YA in a futuristic Britain that is immersed underwater. Layla McQueen must race her submersible to win a chance to save her father from imprisonment in this YA sci-fi adventure of hope and persistence of the human spirit against all odds, even at the bottom of the world. In the last days of the 21st century, sea creatures swim through the ruins of London. Trapped in the abyss, humankind wavers between fear and hope, and fear and what lurks in the depths around them, and hope that they might one day find a way back to the surface. When 16-year-old submersible racer Layla McQueen is chosen to participate in the city's prestigious annual marathon, she sees an opportunity to save her father, who has been arrested on false charges. The Prime Minister promises to champion whatever their heart desires, but the race takes an unexpected turn, forcing Layla to make an impossible choice. So standard, the description of the pub sheet anyway is standard YA stuff, but I am perfectly happy to give the author a chance to wow me. And the date on the pub sheet is the 29th of October. The date on the book is the 19th, so late October, somewhere in late October. And then these next two, they pretty much count as already read. It's only technically that I haven't read them, if you'll see what I mean. The first is the new Mitch Rapp novel from the late Vince Flynn. This is yet another example of necrofiction, this weird phenomenon where authors with marquee properties just keep publishing after they're dead, where Robert Parker can have 10 books now that he's dead. Tom Clancy has a thriving career with his name, big as life, on the cover, even though they're long gone. Even when there's no pretense anymore that they even had a hand in dreaming up the basic plot of any of these books. It's not the characters. It's not just the characters like Mitch Rapp. It's also Vince Flynn, who is the property here. So this is Kyle Mills, who writes these, who has a thriller career of his own. But this is the latest Mitch Rapp novel, which has Vince Flynn's name, big as life, on it, and which continues the Vince Rapp storyline, all of which I have read. These are the definition of airport thrillers. So you pick them up. They do not tax you in any way, and they can be very enjoyable. By the time you get to, let's say, here in the book, you won't stop. So I grab them and I read them whenever I can. And then the next one is also, this is a series that I've been reading forever. I love this author. Absolutely love it. If you're in the mood for Vermont, small-town Vermont police procedurals, you really can't go wrong. And this is a Joe Gunther novel. This is by Archer Mayer. This one is called Bomber's Moon. And with a typical lovely cover. Archer Mayer is just these are wonderful. If you like this sort of thing, then if you go to the mystery section of your bookstore, you're going to see a whole shelf of Archer Mayer. I forget how late in the series this is, but it's 20-something. I wonder if this will tell me. Sometimes, oh god, yeah, it's a whole page. It's at least 20. So what have we got here? A bright and clear bomber's moon is ideal for finding one's target, but beware. What you can see at night can also see you, often with dire consequences. Two young women. One, Rachel Railing, is an investigative reporter. The other, Sally Kravitz, and a private investigator. Uneasy allies from very different walks of life, they work as a team to connect the murders of a small-town drug dealer, a smart, engaging, fatally flawed thief, and the tangled, political, increasingly dark goings-on at a prestigious prep school. Joe Gunther and his team of investigators at the Vermont Bureau of Investigation are officially assigned to the two homicides. While they set out solving them, Sally Kravitz and Rachel Reiling, sometimes working with the police, sometimes against, pool their talents and take advantage of their civilian status to go where the police cannot. From working undercover at Thorndike Academy to having clandestine meetings with criminals well acquainted with Vermont's unexpectedly illicit underbelly. And there's a third, much darker element at work. A common thread linking all this death and chaos is hard at work sowing mayhem to protect its vicious roots. And that third bit, the pub sheet is keeping that, the cover is keeping that intentionally vague, but that third element is the signature of Archer Mayer books. There is always something that's not just connecting seemingly disparate crimes, but that is also working on an intent of its own. And that is always, I don't know how this guy does it. I don't know how he keeps making these things feel so fresh, but that, figuring out what that third thing is always fun. These books are so enjoyable. So I'm going to pop through this and the Vince Flynn book in 2 minutes. But nevertheless, they count as new. So we have Bomber's Moon by Archer Mayer. We have Lethal Agent by Kyle Mills, but with Vince Flynn's name on it. It's and Kyle Mills, even though Vince Flynn had no idea that this book happened. He's long gone, long past Karen, as me sainted Ma used to say. Then The Light at the Bottom of the World, a YA thriller about a London underwater, which I'm gathering given London's current political situation, most of the people who are living there would actually prefer to be drowned underwater right now. And then we have We Are the Nerds. This is coming out in paperback. I think we talked about it last year. I enjoyed it, and I look forward to enjoying it even more. It's stuck in my mind. Then, how wonderful is this? A Penguin classic of Lafcadio O'Hearn. That is just fantastic. Long since overdue, unless maybe one of you can tell me, maybe he's in Penguin before this and I don't know about it. I don't think I have any other Lafcadio O'Hearn in Penguin Classic, and I will delight in rereading him. This is a perfect example of what I talk about on this channel, about how I don't really need to go to used bookstores. If I go to a used bookstore and I'm not looking for one particular thing, I'm just waiting for serendipity, for happenstance, then I'm going to pick up something and say, oh, it's been a while since I read that author, or, oh, I'm really in the mood for that. And that process is exactly the same as picking up this thing, only without going to a used bookstore. So, and then the last one is something I do need to get at a used bookstore, and so you. You all need to get me Signet Regency Romances in order to stay in my good graces. And this one is Martha Kirkland, and it's The Ruby Necklace, and it was delightful. And even, equally delightful with finishing a Regency Romance is that now I have the extra delightful task of picking the next one. Because I believe I am leaving the house. I believe that I am going out on subways and doing errands and whatnot in just a day. You can't leave the house without a book. I'm not going to lug around Duck's Newburyport, or as Britta would say, the Duck book. So I'm going to need something in that little pocket. So I have to pick a Regency Romance. And what am I in the mood for? A vicar's daughter? A wealthy and haughty governess? A penniless noblewoman looking to right her family's fortunes? Anyway, that's a Monday Reads for you. If I can, I'll make more videos today. If not, you'll see this face plenty tomorrow. Thank you, BookTube.